What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be doing a little bit different of a review. We're going to be looking at Trenches. I was going to do a Let's Play for this, but I've got a lot to talk about on this. Now, Trenches is a first-person World War I survival horror game where you have to escape from the claustrophobic environment and experience the war from the eyes of a soldier who's caught behind enemy lines. Now, this is actually made by Steel Krill Studios, and they have made, really honestly, just looking at the beginning section right here, a very beautiful game. And they set up the atmosphere really well right off in the beginning. You can already see that the graphics, they look fantastic. There's this blinking feature that I really haven't found much of a positive use for. It just seems to be in the game, but it really settles in that atmosphere with all the sounds. There's not very much music to it. You've got the footsteps, the rain. You also have the thunder that's going on that scares me a time or two in this game. Now, first off, one of the small negatives that I did have was the pictures. These pictures are, it's not a very big thing for me, but I have seen multiples of them in a lot of horror games. Now, what you're looking at right now was a note that Junior Tommy Ellen here was actually talking about seeing a woman who had been just completely cannibalized, which was a great setup. It kind of gave you the atmosphere and the images of like what's going on in these trenches. So of course we're trying to continue on, but the door's locked. So it looks like we're gonna take a little trip outside to find out where the key's at. I found this little buddy in my trip. I'm not 100% sure what he is or if he's a bad omen. I was trying to figure that out, but it was really interesting to find him there and in a few other locations. And we kind of found what we were looking for. I'm gonna have to blur this out because there is a little bit of quote unquote, I guess you could say nudity, but let's just put this into perspective. The head's missing, the torso's got staples into it, and a shovel put into it. And this was the nurse that had been eaten in the note. But we had found our key. And on our way back, our little buddy decided to greet us. Again, I'm still trying to figure out, or was still trying to figure out, if this was a good omen, bad omen. I'm still not 100% sure. Now, again, like I said before, this game set up its tension very well. Like, I don't even know if you saw that. We'll put it on the replay, but yeah, I mean, up there at the top, he just walks across and it throws you, it at least threw me off. I didn't know if I even saw it. I didn't know if it was the rain. I was so completely confused, which was, again, a very great setup to this whole game. But back to the door, this is kind of where I guess you could say the real game starts. Now, I'm not 100% sure what you're supposed to do. There's these wonderful little doll fetuses that are laying around. You need to collect 9 of them, and then there's also an objective to just escape. So I don't know if the dolls are really what you need to do, but hey, I started looking for them. And of course, I mean, the tension continues to build up with what seems to be just little figures that are popping around the corner but disappear once you even get close to them. And it builds that tension. And even at this point, I thought I was just seeing things. Like, I didn't believe that this was in the game. Maybe it was just the short draw distance. I wasn't quite sure. I was kind of in my own head. And that really drove me to like this game and really drove my fear. Now, throughout the maze, you are going to run into some horror sequences. Like, for instance, you know, the one that I found that I was really happy about was following this train and then finding a hand. And those small little things like that were a great experience. But then my worst fears came to be true. Because I'm afraid that... Fucking shit! Oh, don't tell me it's going to be that kind of game. Yeah, it's that kind of game. With randomized jump scares that it just don't really match the game. It had such great tension. It had great atmosphere. And then you had to go and end up putting just a random woman popping up out of nowhere, scaring me for no reason. And it's sad too, because you ended up having really good sequences, like this weird baby monument thing that acted like one of the weeping angels from Doctor Who. Even the chair sequence before having this weird jump scare was a more natural environmental jump scare than just having this person just appear out of nowhere. And honestly, that's kind of where I just jumped off. I didn't care anymore. I was waiting, just waiting for one of these bloodthirsty cannibals just to come out and kill me. I didn't really care. I honestly didn't. At this point, I knew that I was going to get jump scared. I was eventually going to have to run from something and hide. And I was probably going to run into jump scares more along the way. I didn't feel like a need to continue. Like, again, another jump scare. Of course. Like, we're just doing these pop-ins and pop-outs. Then finally, I saw the creature. But I tried running. I didn't really care. I honestly didn't. I just wanted to die. And really, if you want to know the full scope, here is my exact reaction at the end of the game, or at least when I died. I'm not thoroughly impressed. I do like the view, or I do like the look of the game. I definitely like the look of this game. And the enemies and the tension was set up very, very well. But you do not need to do cheap jump scares so often that it becomes repetitive. A jump scare is not anything that's actually good for horror. Because you're just, yes, you're going to get a jump, but it's not a jump out of fear in the sense of, I'm fearful for my life in this game. It's more or less just, it caught me off guard, it's loud, woo. And yes, it's fun for a very cheap thrill, but if you want your game to be taken serious, I cannot stress, do not put jump scares in your game. The tension and the atmosphere and the small heads where I could barely even know if I was actually seeing them myself, which was playing on my psychological as much as this guy's psychological. That was enough to just leave it as it was. The baby who would disappear and get behind you when you took your eyes off, perfectly fine. Leave that there. The little truck that went by and then the hand came out, that's a perfectly subtle but nice atmospheric jump scare. Having a woman jump up in the middle of nowhere, just appear and scream a blood-curdling scream just for the fact of you wanted to have somebody jump, that's not a good setup for anything. You haven't set that tension. You just thrown it in there. The chair was a good one. I did kind of see that coming, but it still scared me. It wasn't loud. That scream from that woman was where I kind of really died off. And honestly, that's it. If the jump scares were taken out or minimized to where it's actual environmental jump scares, this is going to be a good game. If you're going to keep things in here that are actually just jumping and popping up out of nowhere, that's honestly, that's amateurship. And that's not good. You don't want that in your game. So if you're looking for a cheap horror, this game is fairly cheap. I mean, it's only about $9. If you're looking for one that's just going to give you cheap thrills, but does have a genuinely good kind of setup and atmosphere to it, then definitely pick up Trenches. Me, for the time being, or at least me personally, I do not like these types of games. It's not the type of horror that I look for. I'm not looking for a cheap thrill. I'm looking for something that is really going to immerse me. And having a woman appear out of nowhere and scream is not going to immerse me. That's really the sum of it all. It truly is. It's kind of sad that, there was this great experience that I was having right from the beginning, and due to really some poor decisions on the development, you've now made a very subpar cheap horror game. You had everything there. You had the correct amount of atmosphere and depth of fear to where you were making people think that there was something being seen but not being seen. They were questioning themselves. That was a perfect psychological horror setup. And then you did those things. And it's really depressing to me, is what it is. It's really, really depressing to me because it was so good right from the beginning. And even leaving the creature in there, that's perfectly fine. That would have been a great thing, because the creature does look unsettling. It does look weird. Wouldn't have mind having that in there. It'd been more like an Outlast thing. I'm fine with that. But the jump scares, God, you just took your game from being just like an A+ atmospheric psychological horror game to legitimately a FNAF spinoff, a FNAF fan game, where you just have random jump scares for no reason. I'm upset and I'm disappointed at the same time, just because this game has had just the benchmark for the best to be a very, very good game, and you fucked it up right there. So if you guys are looking for a cheap jump scare filled thrilled game, Trenches is perfect. It's great on its atmosphere. It's great on its delivery of that atmosphere, and you get your silly, stupid jump scares as well. Yeah, if you guys want to check it out, the link's gonna be down in the description. Yeah, I'm gonna sit on this one and think about it for a little bit, because I'm so thoroughly upset. But like always, guys, I'll see you in the next video, and have fun.